Namaskar. Welcome back to another live. So I see already active chats going on. Glad to see that. Welcome back, Gautam. Hey, Rabia. Hey, Sarvesh. Good to see you all. So, excuse me, I had to finish my dinner so that I don't have to do with hunger. So, like I mentioned today, let's talk about renting versus owning, because this is one of the common challenge I hear from many people. Recently, I was talking to a realtor, and she was asking me, like, how do I convince my client, who is actually, both wife and husband were having a job and they have a permanent residency. They're making over 200,000, but they prefer to rent. um, how do I convince them to buy a house? I'm like, okay, that sounds like a great topic, because many people would have concerns about that, because renting has their own pros, owning has their own pros, owning has their own downsides, renting has their own downsides. But let's talk, what are the upsides and downsides in this life. So, you know, just before I jump into the topic, quick update on what's happening in my life. Today I'm really grateful for a lot of things. Me and Mamta joined a group session on a boxing. This is something I've been procrastinating for years now. Wanted to do boxing. So finally we have a very good for the good life fitness. That's pretty huge. I didn't know actually until this year's. So for the first time, me and Mamta actually we just came from there. It was very interesting, fascinating to see how many activities we can do there. So we are like, oops, no more thinking, let's go from here on. They have nice group sessions, so I'm excited for that. And my baby is doing healthy, active, so that's going well on that side. um, a lot of positive reaction from many people asking about different things, and sharing their um, how my videos impacted in their life. Many people have texted, DM'd me over the last few days, in how it impacted them. So that's really glad to hear. And if you have any success story in any way, my videos have impacted in your journey, don't hesitate to DM me and share me that, because that makes my journey way more fruitful and satisfactory. So yeah, that's being said, and I see already a lot of comments here. So before I jump into the topic, let me look at some comments here. Rabia, my friend who is software engineer, he's working from home in Windsor, Ontario, but he's there. Is there any higher paying jobs in Michigan where he can live in Windsor and he cannot afford above 250,000 right now? So first of all, there is multiple questions there. One, is there any high paying jobs in Michigan? It depends on what he's working on. So you already mentioned software engineer. If he is a software engineer working from home, the 250 sounds very low. Probably, maybe he ruined his credit, or maybe he has too much debts or too much credit, because generally I have seen software jobs, you make at least 70-80 grand. But if you're a software engineer, you can find jobs anywhere. And of course, if he's a citizen, he can find jobs in Michigan. There is a lot of IT jobs opportunities. And of course, right now the generally December, January, February months are slower for finding a job. But yeah, the opportunities are there in Detroit as well. And Rabia, can you explain about the first time home buyer for 5% down? Is this on the first house or second 5%? So if you're a first time home buyer, so there is a confusion in terms here. It doesn't have to be you're a first time home buyer. Um, if you're buying a house for you to move in, if you're buying a house for you to live in, then if you qualify for whatever the amount, banks will lend you up to 95%. So if the property price is under 500,000 and if you qualify for that amount, you can borrow up to 95%, which means all you need is $25,000 and bank will lend you 475,000. That's under 500,000. But if it's over 500,000 and under a million, so you pay first 500,000, you pay 5% down, and the next 500,000 you pay 10%. So let's say you bought a property for 700,000, 500,000, 25,000. Next 200,000, which is 600 and 700, right? So 200,000 you pay 10%, which is 20,000. So total you pay 45,000 for down payment, and plus closing cost on top of it, which is generally roughly 1%, 1 to 2%. So that's what, and it applies. Let's say you have a first house, but if it's too small for you, or you're moving into a different city and you turned your first house into a rental and you're moving into another one, most likely, if your numbers are still good, if your income and expenses are, the ratios are still good, they will most likely lend you on the second one for 5% as well. Because the main thing is your qualification, and the second thing is your intention. You're genuinely planning to move into that city, and your reason supports that. You have a job there, or you have a work from home option. You have a new family, you have another, you have a second baby came in, you want a bigger place, or you were living in a small apartment, now you want to go into your own detached home. So there are multiple reasons why people move. So those are the reasons. It doesn't have to be first home, it has to be your primary residency. Can you explain the first-time homebuyer land transfer incentives? So again, it's very simple. Generally, you have a rebate of up to, I believe, $4,000 for the first 400,000 price. The land transfer is, let me tell you exactly. There is a website called ratehub.ca. They have a calculator that will tell you exactly on how much land transfer you would pay based on your property price. So I'm 90% sure it's like around 400,000 price. You don't pay any land transfer tax. Over that, you pay land transfer tax, because they give you rebate for $4,000. Rest, you pay for it. Is it a good idea to sell a car as a down payment? Or get parents' help in the form of gift letter from down payment? Again, Rabia, I cannot comment much on the is it a good idea to sell a car and use that as a down payment. That is your personal choice. How much need you have with your car. If you're not using that much, and you don't have a must need, you don't have a must necessity of having a car, why not? Because now it's your own money. If it's free and clear, if you can get enough money to buy a home for yourself, then why not? And the second option is also a great way, because if you have someone, a family member, especially a direct family member, who is willing to, your dad or mom or sister or brother, who's willing to help you as a gifted funds, also a not bad idea. It depends on what's your position. And Gautam here. Hey Gautam, is it a good idea to sell previous home to buy or upgrade a new home? So it depends on what your goals are. Depends on how much equity you have on your first property. Excuse me, let me take a sip of Perrier here. It depends on how much equity you have. It depends on what's your goals with your second home. But in generally, if your first home is positive cash flow, and if you have a good equity, you don't have to sell. You can refinance if you need money to use for the second home. But again, that being said, I know people who does that because they want they have some other plans with their funds that they're getting from it, or they don't want to hold on to this property for longer. They want the second home, they want to keep it longer, they want to improve, add a unit. So it all depends on your personal financial goals. So the more you the more you ask yourself questions. Okay, where am I currently? How much money do I need for the second home upgrades? How much money is it costing me to hold the first property? Is there a positive cash flow or negative cash flow? If it's a negative cash flow, how long can I hold on to this? So those kind of questions then make a decision. If it's not making sense to hold on to that property, then selling might be a viable option. So, but I cannot say just go sell it, because it doesn't make sense. You have to, we have to look case by case. can you give a breakdown of buying versus renting expenses? So great question. That's the topic today. So let me go back to the topic. Um, First of all, let me share some pros and cons of buying and selling, right? And of course, if you have anything that you think, which one you think is a better option, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your opinions, because again, what I'm sharing is my opinions, right? But at the same time, I trust everyone have their own opinions, and some of them are solid. So share your opinions while I'm sharing mine. So first of all, renting, the renting is easy option, especially when you don't have too much funds, and when you don't have enough savings, when you are not ready for a house. Because for example, when I was a student, I cannot buy a house. I don't have any credit. I don't have a permanent residency. When I was working in the beginning, I didn't have money, so I didn't buy. And also now, a lot of people who are on work permit, they cannot buy, because now Canada has banned foreign buyers for at least 3 years, 2 years, sorry. Um, so if you're in a position where you cannot buy, of course, renting is a viable option, because renting is cheaper. You can rent a place for as low as $1,200 in Windsor, even $1,000. If you're a single person, you can even rent for $500 or $400. So that's on the side. And with the renting, you have a flexibility. If you want to move into another city, if you are moving into some other country, you don't have any too much attachment to this, because it's just a rental place. So mobility is much more easier. Whereas coming to the owning, it's your baby now. You own it. Of course you need money. Of course you need to be qualified to buy it. um, so that means you have more responsibility. It comes with responsibility, right? So that's one of the major difference. But with the renting, the money you're paying for the rent, you're not getting even a penny back. You have mobility, you have all those things, but you're not getting a penny back. You cannot write off, you cannot do anything, because it's your primary home, you're renting, it's gone. Whereas buying, when you buy a house, it's your property, and if the market appreciates, you're making money out of it, and whatever the mortgage payments you're paying is actually going towards your property. So the rent there paid someone else mortgage. For example, I'm a landlord. I have my tenants. They pay my rent. They pay me the rent, and I'm using that rent to pay off my expenses on the property. So biggest thing is, but there is no mobility, because if you have to move out, there are alternatives. Like you can rent the place, again someone else can pay your mortgage, and you manage that property through property manager, and you have an asset. You can still move anywhere else, but again still you have to take some care of it, right? You have to manage your bookkeeping, you have to look after the property, to make sure your property managers are taking care. So there is responsibility involved in it. um, so those are like some of the major things that I personally think. Because and also another major thing is, if you're where are you with your current career? I know some people are like specific profession where they have to give complete dedication, they cannot distract from it. So if that's the case, renting a place, you don't have to worry about anything at all. Now nothing comes to you. There are even apartments where you just pay the rent, all inclusive. You don't have to think about anything, so that saves you mental hustle, right? So that's the pros on the renting side. And cons is you don't have any asset. But let's talk about the expenses, like Rabia is asking. So first of all, if you rent in Windsor, for a one bedroom apartment, you can expect anywhere from $1,000 to $1,300, maybe more for really nice ones, but average. For a two bedroom apartments, again I'm talking about apartments first, which is like you have a shared space. It's not like your own separate house. Apartments, two bedroom apartment, you can see anywhere from 1,200 to 1,600. That's the average. Unless if something really pretty or something, then you can see over 1,600. For a three bedroom apartment, generally you will see somewhere from 1,400 to 1,800, 1,900. depending on how good your unit is and how big the unit is. Those are like standard. Um, if it's a detached home for a 2 bedroom house, you can expect anywhere from $1,800 to $2,000. Depends on if you have a basement, if you have, how big the house is. For a 3 bedroom house, they're going anywhere from 2,000 to 2,700, $800, because with a detached home you can have a lot of things. I've seen some properties, very few, they even go for like 3,000, 3,500. That's very few. That has like, nice, beautiful pool, sauna room, and huge house. Those are like special cases. But in general, $2,000 to 2,500 is a very normal average price point. So that's on the renting, right? If you're renting, if you have all inclusive, that's fantastic. But if you have to pay for utilities, generally you have three expenses when you're renting. If you have to pay for hydro, water, and gas, approximate, like again, for I'm talking about a typical, right? Like here with the utilities, it changes from family to family, person to person, because how many people living in the house and how good you are managing with lights, electric heating, keeping the windows open, running the water, those things. It changes from person to person, but on an average, if you're renting a 1,000 to 1,500 square feet house, you can expect anywhere from um, for water bills anywhere from $100 to $200 in between that, because the wastewater bill is included. The wastewater bill is pretty high. You got to be careful with that. um, for gas, you can see anywhere from $50 to $100. Hydro, same thing, $50 to $100. So on an average, you can see anywhere from $300 to $400 utilities a month. But again, this is the average, right? That being said, there could be some cases where your property is running on electrical. Generally, electrical heatings are very high, especially if they're baseboard heating. So and or if you have a house that is not insulated properly, your bills might be more. Or you have windows that has air leaks, doors that has air leaks, that could bring your gas bills more. So this is like a typical average that I'm talking about. So you have to look at each property a little bit differently. But that's what you can expect on the average side. So when you're renting, the expenses are literally your rent. If you have plus utilities, your utilities. In some cases, I have seen you might have a garbage, monthly garbage fees. Um, Other than that, I haven't seen any other expenses generally for tenants. But if you're owning a house, so first of all, the biggest expense is your mortgage. So your mortgage depends on your price. So if we let me quickly share, this website is worth sharing with you guys. So let me quickly share here a screen here with you. So I show you this to give you an idea how I run my numbers when I buy a property. I look at this website to calculate my expenses on the mortgage and the land transfer tax, all those things. So let me pull up the screen here, Chrome tab, rethub.ca, and here we go. So can you guys see my screen? So you can see my screen, right? Let me share a better screen here. I think this is better. So this is my favorite website. No affiliation, guys. You all have access to this, ratehub.ca. They have a very good articles. They're very, very, very active with the mortgages, even if you want to compare the rates. So you go in here, credit cards, you get all related to the banking side. So this is my favorite tool, mortgage payment calculator. They even have a, like, based on your income, you can even check how much is your availability. And if you want to refinance a property, like if you want to pull some money out, you can even check that here. So let's for now look at the payment calculator. So here I would start with how much you're buying a property for. So in this example, let's take 400,000 as an example. So let's say you're buying in Windsor, Ontario. And if you're buying in Windsor, Ontario, give me and my team a call. We'll be more than happy to assist you. There you go, sales pitch. So look at the numbers here. So this is where you can analyze in different forms. First of all, the down payment. How much down payment you're putting will make a difference on your monthly payment. So let's say you're paying 5% down, which means you're paying $20,000, and you have a CMHC insurance because you're paying under 20%. So if you see here 20%, you don't have any CMHC. If you're paying 5% here, 15%, you have less CMHC compared to 10%. You have less, 10% is less than 5%. So that means the less mortgage payment, the less money you put in, the more CMHC insurance you have. And that you can even vary. You, if you have some more extra money, you can pay 8%, you pay insurance accordingly. And this insurance you don't pay upfront. This will be embedded into your mortgage. If you see here, just let's put 5 back because that's more easy for. So if you're putting 5%, which is 20,000, so that means your mortgage is supposed to be $380,000, but here your mortgage is 395,200. So that means you're paying interest on insurance as well. So that is embedded into your principal. So you will pay this insurance plus your remaining balance of the property price over next 25 years. So here's another thing that you need to know. If you're paying 5% or 10% or 15%, the maximum you can keep your loan only up to 25 years. But if you're going for 20% down, that's when you can go up to even 30 years. So in Canada, you can go up to 30 years. As of now, for residential. Maybe for commercial, multifamily, it's a different case. You can go up to 40 years. So let's for now take a standard, which is like, a lot of us start with, I started with 5% down. This is where you start with. So here you can even compare with the different banks, what each one offering. Everyone have their own, you can even pull more options, what more other owner occupied rental, because rental rates are different from traditional interest rates. So if you see I put rental, your rates immediately bumped up. And if you say owner occupied, like house hacking, you still have a lower rate. Again, because when owner is occupied at the property, generally you get better rates. And with insurance, you will get better rates. So even though you're paying insurance here. So let's go with the highest one here. So let's select this one and save. So now your monthly payment. Again, your payments can change if you select bi-weekly, weekly, accelerated weekly payments. So if you want to pay down quickly, you can do acceleratory weekly payments, double up payments. That's a different story. But for now, let's keep it simple, monthly payments. So your monthly payment, if you're buying a 400,000 house, you have $2,251. So that's your biggest expense. If you're putting 20% down, here you have almost a $480 difference, somewhere around there. Whoever math nerds, they can do the math calculator here. But that's, you can see the difference, right? And here's the land transfer tax. Someone was asking me about the land transfer tax before, right? So if you're a first-time home buyer, so here it is asking you, are you a first-time home buyer? So let's put first-time home buyers. You see it knocked off $4,000 off from the actual one. If you go back, then you are paying $4,475 because you're a first-time homebuyer. And this is only for first-time homebuyers, not primary home. First-time homebuyer. That means you're buying the house for the first time. If you're going for a second house, even though you're paying 5% down, you still pay land transfer tax because that's not your first home anymore. So this is the rebate you're getting from the government for buying a home for the first time. So you get 4,000 rebate, you see here, right? So that's basically, this is technically your closing cost, this one plus lawyer fees and some adjustments, like some tax adjustments, insurance adjustments. Approximately that will be like, $1,000 to $2,000. And plus this one is what you need for closing upfront. But let's go to the monthly expenses. So the monthly expenses right now, that you have this mortgage is the first thing, right? So hope you're still with me here. And let me remove the screen again. So now the second expense is property tax. And if you're in Windsor, if you're someone looking to buy in Windsor, here I'm going to put a link in the description in the chat. If you click this link, again, if you would like to do the exercise with me, do it. That's a that way you can learn. But this website, it is a public property inquiry, so you can look at property taxes. The second expense you have is the property tax. So you can pull up for any property that you're buying. Before you're buying, you can pull up the property taxes from this city website. And of course, you can, if you whichever the city you are buying in, some cities might not have the access to this records, but in Windsor you do have. So for example, I'm pulling up my property. I have a yearly mortgage, yearly property tax, $3,800. So you divide that by 12. That's your second expense. If it's a 400,000 house in Windsor, you're looking around 2,500 to $3,000. So let's do for a rough, for a ballpark number. Let's say your monthly property tax is 3,600. So you have $2,250 for mortgage, and now 3,600 yearly, which is $300 monthly property tax. So you're at $2,550. And plus now you have home insurance. So home insurance generally in Windsor for a primary home, if you're moving in, and if you have a car, probably you can expect anywhere from $100 to $150, $180, in that range. Let's go on the high side, $200. So now you're at you're at the $2,550 plus 200, so $2,750. So these are three major. Now plus the utilities, like we discussed previously for the rent, the average 300 to 400, it's almost the same, because I'm again considering an average home, a 400,000 home, which is like 3 bedroom 2 bath. That's the average expenses I have seen. So now we are at 2,750 plus $500, right? So now we are at $3,250. So these are regular common expenses that everyone will have. On top of it, there might be other expenses, and this expenses depends on property to property. So not every property might have. For example, if you have a rental items in the home, for example, hot water tank. So always find out what is the monthly payment. Generally, I have seen, if it's a regular like $400 house, generally I have seen $20 to $30 a monthly rental. If you have a furnace and AC and hot water tank together, I have seen anywhere from $150 to $200 together. Because when you have multiple elements rental, that's expensive. And you can have some common area fees. Let's say if you're buying a town home, and if the town home has an association which will take care of your lawn, your grass cutting, your snow removal, your roof, your windows, there I have seen anywhere from $120 to even $300, $350. And if it's a condo, some condos, if they have a luxury amenities like pool, library, party area, depends on the more amenities you have, the more condo fees you have. So that can go even up to, like I have seen in Windsor, $600 on a condo fees. They're like one of the premium condo in downtown. They have like pool and everything, like I have seen $600. So that is vary, right? Like, so this rental items, condo fees, maintenance, those vary based on your personal property to property. But the standard expenses for a 400,000 property, you can expect anywhere from 3,000 to 3,500, in that range. So that's your expense. If you're renting the same house, probably you're paying $2,000. Here you're paying extra $1,000 to $1,500 extra. But here is the thing, especially if you're someone looking to build your equity, looking to build your wealth, and looking to own an asset, and you don't want to you want to still keep your rent low. This is where my concept, at least not my concept, I learned from other bigger pockets, the Brandon Turner concept, house hacking. If you find a house that has a basement suite or a duplex, now even though you have 3,500, and if you go little more on the price, probably your expenses can go another $500 more, right? So let's say you have total $2,000, but you have another unit which you can rent for $1,500, or you can do half of your house for Airbnb. So if you're generating $1,000 to $2,000 from your unused space in your house. Now you're bringing down your expenses. Or you have an extra storage shed, or you have a garage that you don't want to use. There are people who rent those garages for $300, $400. So be a little creative in bringing down your expenses. So I know I talked for long. Let me go back to your questions, guys. Sorry, sometimes I talk along when there is a topic. So, but hope someone got useful information from here, right? So let me I didn't forget you guys. I know you guys are here. I know you're asking questions in the chat. So let me go back to your questions. Hey Sarvesh, good to see you, buddy. Ram, please tell the detailed definition of first home buyer. Buying principal home for 4 years. From the 5th year, you become the first time home buyer, right? As far as I know, first time home buyer concept is if you're buying for the first time. But I think what you mean is if you bought a property 7 years, I think there is a timeline. If you haven't owned a house for let's say you bought it today and you sold next year, and then you didn't own any house for next 7 years. I think 7 or 6 years. I'm not 100% sure on that part. Probably I have to do a quick Google search here. But it's like, I think 7 years around there. If you didn't own anything, so now you can claim that land transfer tax rebate. Maybe, again, this is where I would check with the lawyer. Maybe again, that land transfer tax. So then, because you haven't owned anything, but if you own it, if you still have it, as far as I know, you're not a first time home buyer anymore. You just owned it and you sold it and you don't have anything. That's the exception, I believe. But again, this is where I would just check with the lawyer, because those details can get a little bit more specific. Jalil, love your content. Thank you, brother. Do you think it's better to join a team as a realtor or be a solo agent? So look, this is where I would ask you a question. How much knowledge do you have about real estate? How much experience do you have with the sales? If your answer is no for both of them, I would strongly recommend join a team, because I just met a guy in the gym yesterday. I've been seeing him for a while now at the gym. He was a realtor for last 3.5-4 months, and he's a new agent. He haven't joined any team, and he said like he's putting a lot of efforts, doing door knocking, doing running ads, but he haven't made one sale. And here I have my cousin who completely new to Canada. This guy, the new guy, he's born and raised in Windsor, so he has more connections. And my cousin, he moved from literally different country. You have seen his videos. Just last month, he sold 4 properties. This month, now we are not even end of the month, 20 days, he already sold 2 properties. So far, he made like 14 or 15 sales in less than 6 months. Completely new to Canada. No idea about real estate. His profession was completely different. He was into a mobile shop. So why? Because first of all, he's leveraging the team's, he's leveraging the team's knowledge. Now he has a team of people who can support him, and especially I'm promoting him on multiple areas, and I'm sending him leads. I'm training him. He's talking to me every day, asking different questions, and we are going through the training weekly plus almost daily basis, because that's what you need, someone to hold your hands. When I was a new agent, I started with Cassidy, who was my realtor at that time, and I joined her. For almost 4 or 5 months, she was in Windsor. She was a realtor at that time, and I was part of her team. And she was the one who started Windsor, and I was learning from her. And then she left. Then I took over the Windsor. That's a different story. But again, because of her, and because I owned properties before, and I was buying within Windsor, I was learning about neighborhoods. I was networking for last like 3-4 years before I became an agent. So even after she left the country, I still kept myself as a single solo agent, because I was confident about my knowledge. I was confident about my social media. I was generating leads. So build your knowledge first. don't look at the income for at least 1 year. Even if you compare with the income, being a solo agent, I have seen like, especially like I said, the first questions I asked, right? Do you have knowledge? Do you have network? um, and do you have knowledge about the real estate? Do you have knowledge about the skill sales, right? So those matters. If you don't have, if you have those things, then going and you're confident, you're self, very self driven person. um, I have seen people crushed it. Like, one of the person who is under my EXP team, Melina, probably you might have seen this lady on Instagram and TikTok. She was my client. I was really motivating her to get her license. Now she's on her own, crushing it. She has her own team, crushing it, because she built her platform, she built her knowledge, she got the help that needed, and now she's going crushing on herself. And I know a lot of people like that. So if you have knowledge, if you have built enough reputation, being solo makes a lot of sense because you're self-driven. But if you're not, you need some push-up, you need some help, you need some, all the basic ground, then being part of a team makes sense. Flying Star, can you tell me rental yield rate in Canada? Sorry, what do you mean by rental yield rate? I haven't heard that term. I'm hearing for the first time. What makes you money in an investment property? Positive cash flow or capital? I would say both. I have seen both. Why not both? Why one? Look for both options. But of course, big money is from capital appreciation. The cash flow will allow you to hold the property for longer, because that way the property is not depending on your income. But capital appreciation will allow you to make money quickly. You can refinance, and that's why, to do the capital appreciation, you can do burst strategies, force appreciation, and look for locations, cities and the neighborhoods that are growing, where not grown, not completely under the water, that are growing, that are in the phase where getting popular, are the best one to get in. And force appreciation, like burst strategies, are the best one to increase your capital appreciation. And in general, we all know, like, real estate over the period will be paid down, the capital will be paid down by your mortgage, by your tenants. With the rent, the cash flow will pay your mortgage down over the period. So that's a guaranteed, the cash flow, the rent is a guaranteed returns on your money, and the appreciation is the cream on the top. Real estate versus stocks, which is the best? So great question. Personally, I would not look which one is the best. I would look, how can I use both of them to build a better financial stability? Let me explain how. I personally have stocks, I have real estate. Real estate is great in terms of stability. Once you invest money, and you can leverage other people's money, which is bank's money, and you sit on it for 10-15 years, very high, surely, at least no one can tell 100%, but very high chances you will make return on your money. The other hand, with the stocks, same thing. You can buy a solid company, but again, it's not in your control. What if company go bankrupt, right? That's not in your control. Again, both have their own advantages, both have their own disadvantages. The advantage with the stocks, you don't need a huge amount. Just like we are talking about real estate, right? Before, you need at least minimum 5% down, which is like the very, very minimum for a $400,000, $20,000 for down payment plus $5,000 for closing cost. So 25,000 is minimum you need. Whereas the stocks, you just need has minimum as like $500, $100. And here you can take out anytime. The stocks you can liquidate anytime. Whereas real estate, you cannot liquidate that quickly, because it's an asset. You have to go through certain process. It can take weeks, it can take months. So that's big difference. But in stocks, you might have leverage. In stocks, they say leverage is very scary. But general, let's say you put $100, and whatever the percentage you make on it is your returns. But in real estate, you will, because you're leveraging your money, you're using $25,000, but you're buying a $500,000 asset. If the market goes up by 10%, your property value increased by $50,000. That means your money doubled. Whereas here in the stocks, if you bought a same $25,000 stock, if your market increased by 10%, which is $250, where is $50,000? Where is $250? Sorry, $2,500, right? There's a huge difference, right? It's almost a night and day difference. But that being said, when you're starting, you can start with the stocks, because if you have $500, $1,000, buy into some nice blue chip companies, where you know that there is high level of security. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. This is my just opinions. And also there is advantages with the stocks, where stocks can be completely passive, whereas real estate, no matter what everyone says, it's not complete passive. I would say it's semi passive. You have to think about them. You have to make sure it's been managed properly. You have to make sure you're getting income prop on time. That's a main important thing with the real estate. You can have a very high returns, but you have to spend time. Maybe over a period, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, 5 years down the road, I might liquidate all my real estate and put money into nice dividend paying blue chip stock companies and just completely retire off of it, because they could, especially if you buy like some solid companies that has solid fundamentals, the chances of they going bankrupt is very less. But again, there is worst case scenario for everything. But again, here you got my point, right? Like that could be completely passive. You just put money in there and the money will make money for you, that compounding effect. So uh, with the stocks, the returns are slower. With real estate, because you can control a lot more, like you can do burst strategies, you can do flips, you can make more money in a shorter period. But again, you need more expertise here you just need to know the good company. Even that need expertise, but not as much as the real estate, right? Here real estate, you need connections, you need to be on the ground. So both have their own advantages. I would use both of them. I would never compare which one is great. I would use both of them based on your personal situation where you're. As of now, I have at least like 150 to 200,000 in stocks. Some of them even I use RRSPs. I have like 60, 70 grand in RRSPs. I pay to save taxes, but I'm investing them into nice solid companies, and that are growing over the period. And I have like stocks with my own brokerage. The EXP offers some stocks, some free stocks, of course. But again, you got my point, right? Dilpreet Singh, hi Aditya, what do you think about investing in Edmonton? Oh, I get this question all the time. Honestly, I'm not the right one to answer on that, Edmonton. I haven't done that much research. I don't want to mislead you. I would say um, find someone who is good in that area and ask more questions there. And can temporary residents on work visa buy a house? If yes, what do you think someone should buy their first home, regardless of where they work, since we have work from home option these days? So, Manash, first of all, if you're on temporary residence, how long you've been working in Canada? If your answer is you've been working at least for 3 years and full-time job, you might be exempted from, so you might be able to buy. But the other way around, you won't be able to buy, because the foreign buyer ban is on temporary residence. There is specific exemptions within that. One of the exemption is if you've been working for last 3 years. If you are, then you can buy. But you still have to pay foreign buyer tax. Yes, foreign buyer tax, which is 25%. So if you have a yes answer on both of them, then where you can buy, it depends on what's your goal, right? Like, if you're in Ontario, I love Windsor. I'm very biased on Windsor because I still, see a lot of potential in Windsor, and especially with the prices where it is right now, there at a very good discount. Um, in the southern part of Ontario, Windsor is my favorite place. Varun, by the way, great job doing the lives every week. I get something out of it every time. Glad to hear, Varun. Very glad to hear. Let me see more comments here. If I'm not qualified for X amount, can I co-sign someone, for example, my family member or a friend, to qualify for that X amount? Yes, absolutely. Most of the lenders do accept co-signer. Sarvesh, I would say both are crucial. If the property is making good positive cash flow, the bank will be happy to give you a mortgage in future, and the capital appreciation can be used as a HELOC. There you go. Great answer. Thank you, Sarvesh. That's a very good point. Can it, I think we touched on this one just now. No, he just said that. Yep. So anyone, if you need help in Windsor, like, just DM me your email address. Anything you need. Um, if you want to get a one-on-one call with me or one of my agent, to analyze your situation. What makes sense to you. If you want to know more about Windsor, those things, just don't hesitate to DM us on Instagram. Same name, my full name, Aditya Soma. So we can jump on a one-on-one call and discuss more in your what would be the better options in your current personal situation. Okay, let me see what I missed here. Some questions. Sorry, 1 second. Hi Aditya, I'm planning to invest in student rentals in Windsor. I'm living in Oshawa. Question is, how difficult is it be to manage investment property living that far? So first of all, it depends on you. We have this thing in our hand. This thing is super powerful. Literally, if you um, if you want to manage something, all you need is the phone and people in that area. So for example, if you want to buy in Windsor, right, like you're saying in Windsor, if you're working with me and my team, we have all the contacts that you need for different trades, property management, different things, and you manage them. You as like I had a lot of clients who didn't even came down to Windsor. They bought and sold properties because they use the phone, they check the video tours, get the inspection reports, they review everything, they say yes or no and move on to the next one. They do the analysis on the location, they get a good view on the Google map and all. Same thing when you're managing. Same thing, you set up some systems, you make sure have a proper instructions for your property manager. Make sure you have a, if it's a student rental, this is one key tip that I been using, having a cleaning services every 2 weeks, and have them to take pictures once the cleaning is done and send it to you. So, and you make sure you review them, how is everything. You ask them a quick 5 minutes phone call with them every 2 weeks, every 1 month. Make sure if your property is going well, those kind of things, like and if there is any issue in the property, when they blindly send you an invoice, don't just blindly pay. You ask them for before pictures, after pictures, video clip, because they cannot mimic the video clips. They have to shoot it and send you, hey, here's the, and don't give them permission to go do the repairs whichever comes up. You put a hard boundaries with your property manager saying, hey, I want any renovations like more than $50, I have to approve you, or more than $100, I have to approve you, or everything, I have to approve you. Send me the pictures before, and whatever the issue is, send me a video clip. I'll look at it. If needed, I want you to get a quotation. I'll get my quotations. You can call up a plumber, you can call up an electrician. There's Google, and your realtor can give you all those contacts. So you call people, get the quotations, and make a decision based on that. Because anyways, you're not a plumber, anyways you're not an electrician, anyways you're not HVAC guy. So anyways, you have to leverage people. So you just use the powerful tool to leverage and manage your property. So It's very doable. I know a lot of people doing. Even though I live in Windsor, I don't manage my own properties. I gave it to property management company, and my wife makes sure, look at all the expenses every month, make sure if there is any issue comes up, we send our contractor. As any small things, I ask them to fix. If there is any little bit more than $100, I send my guys to look at the issue. So those kind of things will help you to manage. So could you please explain about the taxes on the rental property income? So property taxes is pretty much same. So sorry, my bad. If you're talking about property taxes, it's a different story. Property taxes is same for anything. If you're talking about the income tax, so if you have a rental property, your interest rate on the mortgage, your property tax, your insurance, your utilities, any other bills that you're paying towards the property is write off. Because you have, let's say you have $2,000 income coming in, and you have like $1,500 expenses. So this $1,500 will be like they will be deducted tax. You don't pay tax on that expenses. So you pay only in taxes on the $500. So 500 into 12 months, that will be added to your personal income if it's on your personal name. If it's a corporation, then the different taxes. But in general, mostly you have expenses that covers all your income most of the cases. If you have a heavy cash flow, you pay taxes just like a regular. If it's on the personal name, let's say you're making 100,000 and you're making extra 10,000 from the positive after all the expenses, then that 10,000 added to your $100,000. So 110,000, and then whatever the tax bracket you come in, your accountant will does all the calculations, and they give you an invoice to pay that extra taxes for that amount at the end of the year. Sorry, not in the, I think in the March. So that's how generally works. Again, this tax thing could change from person to person. There is, everyone set up their accounts very differently based on your personal needs. Different things can be done in that area. I would strongly recommend talk to a good accountant. Very, very important. You're very welcome, Satya. So I see we have another 4 minutes here, so feel free to pop in any more questions. Just don't hesitate. I'll do my best to answer. What are the qualifications required to become a realtor? I think the first qualification is you have to have a secondary high school, like high school education. And second thing is that you need to have at least the work status, or like open work permit or a PR. I think other than that, there is not that much, like your English proficiency. You don't need IELTS. I think if you have like a more than secondary high school education, I think that was, and you have to be, I believe, 18 years old. Best wishes to your channel. Thank you, Krishna. Hi Aditya, is it a good time now to buy a house since the market is trending downwards in the coming days? What type of homes do you suggest for investment purpose for the first time home buyer? So if you're a first time home buyer, it's a great time, because they have dropped by 30 to 35%, at least in Windsor. 30 to 35%. That's a huge drop in the market. Generally, in Canada, we haven't seen that big drops in last like 20-30 years. So now we have seen it. And how far it can go, I don't know. Maybe it can go another 5% down, or maybe even 10% down. But if you're looking for a property now, because right now it's a buyer's market, that means you have again, maybe some properties still have some bidding war. If they listed wantedly lower than the market value, that's a different story. But generally, if you're looking at 20 properties on the market, there is some properties are sitting on the market for more than a month or two. You can negotiate prices. You're getting below market values now. Before, getting a market value was a challenge. Everything was going over market value before. But now the market already dropped by 30-35%, and you can negotiate even further down. So what can you ask more? Especially if you're a first time buyer, you haven't owned anything. right? So the dip is the best time if you're in that perfect moment. If you're not, you buying a property and sitting on it for 10-15 years is always the best thing. Like I have met many people who are, homeowners, investors for like 15 years, 20 years now. They say only one thing: we wish we started even earlier. Because everyone says that. I don't know why, what's wrong with the real estate, because it's always good time is now, and even better time is if you're in the market like this in the bottom time. No one can, I mean, I won't say no one, but many of us, a common people like us, cannot predict the exact right time. It's really challenging. Because let's say the Bank of Canada, they have an announcement, interest rates on January 25th or 26th. Let's say they stopped increasing, we might see some more buyers on the market. um, you don't know. Or they might say we're going to increase another 50 basis points. That could slow down the market further. But if you're someone who has down payment ready, who is qualified, who has a job, don't go for luxury in this market. Not a good idea for going for expensive homes if you cannot afford. If you're someone, a business owner, you have $1 million, that's a different story. But if you're someone starting your career, you're just in the beginning phases, go for the most affordable home. Even if something happens to your job, not the wood, I wish no one gets into that situation. But if something happens, still, if you can afford this home, because you have to pay rent somewhere. If you're buying within that range, like we discussed earlier in this video, right? If you're buying within your means, and if you can hold on to that property, no matter what happens to your job for next 2 3 4 years, you'll be laughing. Trust me, like, we will have this, my content will be going anyways for next few years. Surely we'll be talking again in next 2 3 years. I bet you everyone who bought in this time would be laughing, because we have always seen the time in the market. That means you bought a property and you sit in the market, you just own that for next 5 years, 10 years, are always laughing, because the market price 5 years ago was way less than what is today. 10 years ago was even less than what is today, at least in Canada. So again, think about it. Thank you so much for helping me buy your first property. You're very welcome, Satya. Always, always. Will baby Aditya be a realtor or a investor or mortgage broker or all the above? Maybe none of the above. I want my Ahilia to become an actor or athlete, um, or entrepreneur. That's my thoughts. Again, I would let her become whatever she wants. She's named after a queen who was a warrior who fought the life for in 1700s. So I know she's a warrior. No matter what she does, I support her. What is the best province to buy house? Ontario, bro. Ontario. Because look, where is the majority of the population coming in? Why we are seeing such a high demand in real estate in Canada for last years, 10, 15 years? Because of the immigration, the population growth, and the majority of the population growth is happening in Ontario. Hi, what about Toronto? I'm looking to buy a house in Toronto. Darshan, again, Toronto is always a great place, because Toronto is a hub, right? Like, everything is in there. Only thing is, you need some money. You need good amount of money to buy. Um, to If you want, again, even there you have creative options. Like, you can buy a condo for maybe 400,000, 500,000, but that's the lowest you can get, right? Whereas the same money you can get you a duplex or even a triplex, in cities like Windsor. But I agree, like, on this, from a fundamental side, Toronto is the solid. If I have more money, I would definitely invest in Toronto. But if you're someone like me who started with literally very, very, very less money, instead of waiting for years to buy a property, I would buy in the areas like Windsor, which are also coming up, where you can have equity built up. And when you're ready, when you're financially ready, then you can go into cities like Toronto. But if you're someone, you have money, hey, by all means, Toronto is the best place, no question. Can you help with that? Darshan, definitely I can help you by giving you a good referral in that city. Just DM me on Instagram. I have some good people that I know in Toronto who can help you with that. Varun, can you touch a little bit on the selling cost for a seller? How much would it cost roughly to sell a 500,000 home in? A good question, Varun. So sure, definitely. So if you're selling a home, the first biggest cost is the realtor fees, which is a standard fees is 5%. 5% on a 500,000 is 25,000 plus HST, 13% on the HST. So sorry, my bad, I did a wrong math here. So let's do a quick math here. So 500,000, 25,000 is your realtor fees plus 13% on the HST, which is 3,250. So you're at 28,250 plus your realtor lawyer fees. That's another 1,500 give or take. So plus your mortgage penalty, that's another thing. Check with your bank. This varies based on, if you have a variable, it's 3 months interest rate. If it's a fixed, what's your interest rate currently? That will decide how much is your penalty. So you can check on that ratehub.ca, the website I showed you, or just call your bank, ask them how much is your penalty if you break now. So those are the three major expenses you will have. So approximately you can account for 32,000, like 30 to 32,000 expenses. I'm going to buy my mom house. I don't want to know how the process. I don't know how the process works. If you're buying your mom's house, just keep it simple. Your mom can just, you both talk to a lawyer. The lawyer does the transfer of the, however you guys want to structure, how much price, whatever. You just tell the lawyer, and the lawyer will help you with that process. It's very simple because it's within the family, right? So yeah, guys, it was fantastic. It's already 8:06. It's always, the time flies by when I'm talking to you guys on this lives. I just absolutely love this lives, chatting with you guys. So thank you so much for engaging with me, asking your questions. I really appreciate. And again, don't forget, don't be a stranger. If you guys need help in Windsor, you just want to talk about, like Warren was asking, if you want to know more details about selling your property, if it's a good thing to sell or not, you might, if you need any help like that, just DM me on Instagram or email, or give me a call on my office number. My assistant will schedule a call with me based on my availability. If I'm not available for the next couple of days, probably she'll schedule with my realtors. But again, I have a great team. We are more than happy to help you guys in Windsor, Essex. And if you need help in other cities, of course, still DM me, because I know people in different cities, right? Like, with the social media, you always make friends from different places. So yeah, and also we have some active listings. If you want to check out, just DM. We have a one property that I really like, which is a single family home, which was actually a duplex. You can easily convert back into a duplex. You can get it under like 320, 330. It is listed for 240,000. But again, market value is different. But if you want to know more details on that property, DM. And also have another property coming up. No, it's actually listed yesterday. A nice house hack. If someone wants to house hack at a low price, affordable price, I have a like 3-bedroom house with a bachelor in-law suite. That's on the market for 300,000. For more properties, again, we have some off-market deals. We always have something coming up. Just DM us. More than happy to help you guys in Windsor. With that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much, guys. See you later.